Alan and I belong to a running club that's very social. I mean, we take running seriously, and most of us are chasing some kind of number goal, whether that's a PB, Boston qualifier, or something else. But we also have monthly trivia at a local brewery, several breakfast runs at Coach Bill's house every year, and a weekly easy run that starts and ends at Tim Hortons, which is a coffee chain here in Canada. I guess for our US listeners, it's like Dunkin' Donuts, but the Canadian version. I get the feeling that not all clubs are as social as we are. Lucky for you, though, there is a chance you have a park run close by, and they seem to take both running and socializing just as seriously as we do. Don't know what park run is? Well, today's book might end up on your reading list after this episode. Hi, and welcome to Running Book Reviews podcast, where we review books written for runners, about runners, and by runners to help you decide if you'd like to read the book for yourself. We also hope that listening to us chat about running can help keep you motivated about your own running, or maybe inspire you to try something new. My name is Liz, and with my co-host Alan, we're going to talk with author Lucy Waterlow about her book, The Ultimate Guide to Parkrun.
This book is everything you'd want to know about parkrun. How it started, what countries it spread to, how it benefits mental as well as physical health, and why participants keep coming back to both run and volunteer. The book has 9 chapters. I'll just skip through them gaily because we're going to talk in some detail, but to give you a flavor. How it started, meet the parkrunners, the high-viz heroes, a day in the life of a parkrun, why you should parkrun for your health and well-being, parkrun around the world, training, destination, and challenge inspiration, the future, and, should you want to, how to set up your own parkrun. Let me tell you a little bit about Lucy Waterlow, the author. Lucy is an author, ghostwriter, and journalist who has contributed to numerous titles, including places like the Sunday Telegraph, Daily Mail, Women's Running, and OK Magazine. She's the author of The Ultimate Guide to Parkrun, everything you need to know about the friendliest 5K in the world, and the co-author of the books Nell McAndrew's Guide to Running and Run Mummy Run, inspiring women to be fit, happy, and healthy. She's also the ghostwriter of ultra-runner Mimi Anderson's 2 memoirs, Beyond Impossible and Limitless. Ones to look out for there. Lucy is also an experienced runner and a British qualified running coach. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
We know that you're an experienced runner because we were just talking to you before we popped on to record, and we found out that you actually hold an ambition which is near and dear to our hearts, which is a sub-3 marathon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've not quite done it yet, but I'm going to have another shot at it at next year's London Marathon. I've got it down to 3:04 now, so it's kind of close, but not quite there. So yeah,
I know how that
hopefully I
close
might
but
get
not quite there goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna cross my fingers for you on the day of the London Marathon
Oh,
because
thank you.
yeah, Alan is running the London Marathon as well.
Oh, brilliant.
I
He ended up getting in.
could come over and maybe we could pace each other.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I might not be up to training in winter here is pretty tough, so I might not be up to full speed by April, but we'll see. Let's start how we normally start. What prompted you to decide to write this book on parkruns?
Oh, I was actually approached to write the book. So the publishers are called Canberra Press, and they knew it was the anniversary coming up over here. It's 20 years since the first part run in the UK, and that's how it all started. So they wanted to do a book sort of celebrating that, going into the history, how you can get involved, inspiration for people that are already involved and know it well. So yeah, they approached me because they knew I'd written quite a few books about running already and that I was a park runner as well. So yeah, they asked me, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. I really, because I'm a keen part runner, it was something I really wanted to write about. So I went away, did the chapter outline, presented it to them, and they were happy with it, and then it went from there.
Oh wow. So how did you start park running? Like how did you get introduced to park run the first time?
It was back in 2012 because it started in the park, which is literally on the doorstep of my mum and dad's house. So you just have to sort of go into a footpath and you're on the course. So yeah, it came there in 2012. So I was already a runner at that point. And I used to do quite a lot of just runs around that park already on my own on a Saturday. So that's why I thought, oh, now I can go along and join in with other people. That was where my parents live. And then I live in a different part of the UK. And then not long after, it came there as well to my local park. So again, I could do that one. I just love that I could, when I had a dog, I used to join in with my dog. I used to do it sort of just to test my fitness, see, where I'm at over 5K. So sometimes I'd run it quite hard to see how fit I was over 5K. Other times I just join in just for fun, to do it in fancy dress or just to run around chatting to a friend. So that's what I like about it, that you can make it what you want, either a hard run or just a walk or just chatting as you go around.
You're talking about a park that near your parents' house. I guess reading the book, that must be Bushy Park.
Oh no, that one's actually Colic, which features in the book
Okay.
in the day in the life bit. So Bushy Park's where it
Okay.
originally started in London,
Okay.
and then it spread across the country a
Okay.
few years later.
Oh, it's a shame that you've given the game away that it was called Colic Park and not Colwick Park, because I was
Oh
going to
yeah.
get I was going to get Liz to try and pronounce it because she always pronounces all the British names wrong.
Oh my gosh. And like in the book, so we read one other Parkrun book, but it wasn't the same style. It was more like stories. It was called Could Have Happened at Parkrun.
Oh
It was
yeah.
written during the pandemic. Anyway, um, and there was this city called Wycombe Rye, but that's not the real, that's not how you say it.
Wickham.
And I saw it in your book again, and it brought back
Oh.
memories of me being laughed at during that last episode. So, those that haven't heard that episode, well, you could just go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
So, I'm not attempting any names today. I'm just going to ask the general questions, and the ones that have like names of cities, I leave those to Alan.
It's
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I can't guarantee I'll pronounce them all myself, especially the ones around the world.
If we get bored, we'll get Liz to pronounce Leicester and Worcestershire.
Oh boy.
Those are always good ones. Loughborough is a nice one as well.
Oh yeah, I went to uni in Loughborough.
Yeah. Okay, so it'd be a good idea before we get too far in, probably, to get a good explanation to our listeners because of what is parkrun, because a lot of our people are in North America where it's not as popular. I think parkrun is a sort of standard word in the vocabulary in the UK. But when you say parkrun here, people will think, oh, what, you go to a park and do a run? Is that what you're doing? You're just using a shorthand word for running in a park? Well, you kind of are, but you're absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, so Parkrun is actually an organisation now. So they organise runs all around the country, or rather, volunteers do it for them. They're timed 5K runs, so they're not races, but you go along and you get a time over 5K. So, say if you've got one near you, what you have to do is register on their website, first of all, and that gives you a barcode. It's all completely free, so you register for free. And then when you've got that barcode, you can go to any park run in the world, do your run, scan the barcode at the finish, and then you get your result and your position. So they publish, like I say, it's not a race, but they do publish the finishing order and they publish everyone's times, and that gets emailed to you as well. So you can see what time you did. So I think that why it appeals to a lot of people, because you can keep going. You don't have to go every week, but you can dip in and out, which is what I tend to do, and see what your 5K time is like, see how you compare on different courses and how your time compares at different times of the year and how fit you are. And like I say, the beauty of it is that it's all completely free. So you don't have to pay anything to take part. And the other thing that's really great about it is you don't have to be a runner to do it. So you can go along and just walk the whole thing. And they have a team of volunteers, including ones who do just walk at the back. So no one can ever come last. So that's a big appeal to a lot of people that are worried that they're going to get left behind or they're embarrassed to finish last. That can never happen because the volunteer at the back always finishes last. And the other big element of it is the volunteering. So lots of people, like my mum, for instance, isn't a runner, but she volunteers regularly. So she's done about 250 volunteer stints now at,
Oh, wow.
at the local park run. Yeah, so she goes most weeks. I say she's never run, but she just enjoys being part of it and volunteering. And that's by either marshalling or scanning the barcodes at the finish or walking around at the back, being what they call the tail walker. So it's something you can get involved in, whether you're a runner or not, which is why it's so appealing to lots of people.
Do you take caffeine when you run? Lots of people do because it's in gels and stuff. And caffeine's legal and it's been proven to work. There's actual science that shows that it improves your endurance running performance.
And there's anecdotal data from when you have your coffee in the morning and you go for a workout versus when you forgot to have your coffee or you didn't have time and you went for a workout and it was terrible.
And the trouble with coffee is there's a lot of liquid just to get your caffeine dose.
Yeah, so then you have to stop for the bathroom mid-workout. Very impractical. Which is where Caffeine Bullet comes in.
What's caffeine bullet, Liz?
It's a caffeine supplement. It's wrapped up like in a candy. So, and it tastes like candy. And you can get 100 milligrams or 85 milligrams, which is about a cup of coffee, but without the liquid.
So we've tried the mint flavor and the chocolate orange flavor, and they're both pretty yummy.
If you want to try them for yourself, we do have a 20% off discount code. So go to the link in the show notes and you can check out what Caffeine Bullet is and get your 20% discount.
Pretty generous.
It is pretty generous.
And we'll get a small benefit, so you're helping out the
Speaking of which, back to the podcast.
Yeah, I think a pretty key thing and something that I was going to bring up later, but you just touched on it now with volunteers is, if you're a runner, okay, you run and you get your time and you can see how you did and you can compare your results to previous results, etc. But effectively, there's a almost identical parallel recognition system for volunteers.
Yeah,
You can
there
see
is,
how many
yeah.
times you volunteered and
They call it milestones. So as a runner, you can rack up the milestones. So when you get to like 50, 100, 250, you can get a t-shirt and different merchandise. And then they've done the same thing for volunteering. So if you volunteered 50 times, you can get a t-shirt and so on. So it encourages people to keep doing it and just recognizing that that is an accomplishment as well. Just going along and volunteering is an equal participation to walking or running.
That's really amazing. And actually, in the book, you talk about junior parkrun. So maybe you want to, because I don't think we have any junior.
no, we don't.
Yeah, I
don't have
don't think you
junior
do, yeah.
parkrun in
No, they're
Canada.
only in a few, they're compared to the grown-up part run, they're only, I think, in Australia and the UK and Ireland at the moment. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're for you can start when you're 4 years old and go up to age 14 doing that, and they're only 2K. So my son's just got into doing it recently and he absolutely loves it because again, you register it for free, you just turn up. They're on a Sunday morning. Part runs the grown-up version are always on a Saturday morning, but this is a Sunday morning. 9 o'clock start again. And yeah, you just turn up, join in, and it's sort of, for them, it's that you have the little ones that have only just started who sort of walk and jog around at the back, and then you get the older ones that are really going for it at the front, trying to get a fast time. The parents join in. So again, we find it's quite a nice like family morning out to do the park run with him, and then go and get a drink afterwards, like a coffee, and then go to the playground. And he's really motivated, sort of for them, the children can get a little bracelet for doing so many park runs, which again is free. So he's really motivated to get this wristband that shows how many park runs he's done. So again, it's not about what time you run, it's about taking part, which I think is really important for the children, especially at this age, just to enjoy running rather than be focused on the results.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it at a senior level, we talk about in training, consistency being the thing that trumps everything. And,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's doing. It's building sort of consistent habits.
Yeah, exactly. And just being outside as well, sort of being out in nature, because obviously there's a lot of stuff about children having too much screen time. So this is getting them outside. They're always in nice venues like in parks. So for instance, last weekend it was really lovely and autumnal with all the autumn leaves and stuff. So it's just really nice to be outside at this time of year and get the children out running around enjoying themselves.
Except that then afterwards, does it make them have more screen time because now they have another app that they can look at, like the Parkrun app?
Um, no, because I think yeah, the app isn't really that appealing to the children because it just they get the email as well. Well, I get the email to my account to say what
Okay.
time they did and what position. But yeah, he hasn't shown any interest in like looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just
he's
probably
more
goes to
interested.
run with all the other kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just
Hmm.
to take part. Yeah, and like I say, and try and get that wristband.
So kids can do that from 4 years old, the 2K
Yes,
junior park
yeah.
run. And how old do you have to be before you can participate in a normal 5K parkrun event?
Well, again, you can join in an actual 5K park run when you're younger. You don't have to wait till you're 14, but there are a few rules that you have to have an adult with you. And again, I wouldn't sort of, as a running coach, I wouldn't actively encourage children to do it too young because it is still 5K is quite a long distance for a young person. So I think that's why the 2Ks are a bit better for them, especially if they are going to do it regularly. But yeah, as the children get older, sort of the 10 to 14 bracket, you do seem to get a lot of children doing the park runs over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do have to have a grown up with them.
And apart from walkers, something that's quite cool, I think, is you can bring your dog if you want.
Yeah, that's a big element as well. There are some venues that don't allow them, but the majority do. And that's something I used to have a border collie and I used to like taking him along and joining in. Again, there are a few rules around it, like they have to be on a lead and it has to be a certain type of lead. It has to be a handheld one, not one of the ones that attach around your waist. But again, that's a really nice way to, if you've got a dog, to be able to go out and enjoy some exercise with your dog.
And new mums can also come with their strollers. If it's not to run, it could be to walk, right?
Yeah, you can walk or you can run. So yeah, you get a lot of people doing it with running buggies, or you don't have to wait till your child is old enough to go in a running buggy. You could just walk around with them. And yeah, I think that's another great thing that's really good about it, that is accessible to new mums who want to get back into exercise, or and dads can push the buggies as well. So it's a way to get out, because it can be limiting having children on getting out to exercise. So being able to get out with a running buggy and take your children with you I think is a really good way to do it.
Is there some sort of reason around the 5K distance?
Yeah, I think they sort of went for that because it's like an achievable distance. So it was initially, when they were brainstorming, they did consider having it as a mile, but then they thought that's a bit too short to keep people coming back. And I think a distance over 5K might be a bit too long and put people off, whereas 5K is quite achievable. And if you are walking it, it's still not going to take you that much time. So I think it's that nice achievable distance, but also if you are an experienced runner, it's a good distance to push yourself over as well.
Yeah, I mean, reading it, it seems to me that the 5K distance is kind of part of the secret sauce because, yeah, it's a big challenge if you're just starting, for example. If you're somebody who's interested in times, it's also something you can come back to regularly, so you can run one a
Yeah,
week.
definitely.
You can
Yeah,
run. When I was in Australia on vacation last year, I did a whole sequence of park runs because there was one near where I was staying. So I was just going to it every week, and each week you can be ready to run again. It's not like a marathon where
yeah,
when you do
exactly.
one, you've got to have 2 months off
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. And like I said, in terms of the volunteers who are there the whole time, it means they're not giving up the whole morning. They're just giving up sort of an
Mm.
hour to come down.
So, what about the timing of the park runs? Because I thought this was before reading the book. I had this idea that all the park runs were at the same time all over the world, and it was 9 a.m. Um, but it turns out that that's not quite true because there's a lot of park runs in different parts for different reasons that have them at a different time. So is there a rule about the timing? Like how flexible is that timing? Like,
General rule is meant to be 9 o'clock, because I think that's just, well, the original one started at 9 and then all the other ones followed suit. But then when it did spread to other countries, it got to the point where 9 wasn't necessarily a good time to run because it might be really hot, or it might be really humid at that time. So there is some flexibility if you're in other countries to run at a different time. There are even parts of the UK where it starts later as well, just because it might not be light enough at that time in the morning. So they can start at like 9:30. There's one in Ireland that starts at 11 because to do with a priest that's shared with other islands. So sort of religious reasons, that's later. And like I say, a lot of them are sort of weather dependent and whether there's enough daylight at 9 o'clock. So some in like South Africa and Australia, they start at sort of 7 o'clock, 7:30, so a lot earlier than in the UK.
okay, but they have to be on Saturday. Like they can't
Yeah,
be
they
on a
yeah,
different day.
they have to be on Saturday, but you are allowed to have each country is allowed to pick a day when they could have it on a different day. So in the UK, they pick New Year's Day and Christmas Day to have it on. But then other countries might pick like a special day, like in America, I think they have Thanksgiving is like the one where they're allowed to. So if Thanksgiving, falls on a different day, you can have it on that day. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be a Saturday. And the same with Christmas Day. So if Christmas Day falls on a Wednesday, you can have a Wednesday part run because it's Christmas Day. But otherwise, yeah, it's supposed to be always on a Saturday.
Yeah, I remember running in Australia. They had like, I think Christmas and New Year fell on a Sunday. So they had a park run on the Saturday. They had another one on the Sunday, which was Christmas Day. Then they had another one on the Saturday. And then they had another
Yeah.
one on the next Sunday, which was New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So I
So
ended
that's
up
one of the
doing,
challenges you can do, is to
yeah.
try and do 4 over like just over a week period.
We'll get on to challenges probably, but before we get to that, let's go to the origins of Parkrun. So how did this start? It's obviously a UK initiative originally, sort of has originated and spread from the UK. How did it begin?
Yeah, the idea is a man called Paul Sinton Hewitt. So it's his idea. He's actually from South Africa originally. And over there, they do quite a lot of time trials. So that gave him the idea to bring it to the UK. And it wasn't at that point a part run, they just used to do time trials. So when he came to the UK, and then he got injured, so he was missing being able to meet up with his friends. So like you were saying with your running club, it's very sociable. His was the same. So he was missing sort of seeing his friends to go for a run and go for a coffee afterwards. So he thought, well, what I'll do is I'll arrange a run. So even though I can't run myself, I'll put on a run that they can come along to, and I'll time them and give them the results, and then we can all go for a coffee afterwards. So and then he decided to make that every week. So at that point, it was just called the Bushy Park Time Trial, which was the park in London where it first started. And only a few from the club turned up for the first day, and he had a few helpers as well. And then from there, it just grew and grew. So gradually, it got more and more people because he put it on every week, until it's sort of, yeah, so now it's grown all around the country, all around the world, and it's, yeah, now and then also it changed its name a few years in. Instead of calling them time trials, they changed the name to Parkrun, just to make it more appealing to people, to show you that it's not about how fast you run, it is just about joining in.
And then it spread to a whole bunch of other countries. So how many countries is it in right now?
I think it's 22. It was in France, but it's had to cease operating in France at the moment because they've got some rules over like medical certificates that you need in order to take part over there. So, and then it has started in another country since I published the book, actually. But I think it is 22 now.
Wow. One thing that you mentioned in the book is that in the US it seems to not have like really taken off the way that they thought it would, and I'm actually kind of surprised. I don't know, are there any
Yeah, me
theories as to
too.
why? Because
No,
the
I don't know.
they have such a big population and the running culture is really big
Yeah,
there, and you'd think they would embrace this thing where you can get your, your mom to go to a park run like on a Saturday morning, and get all your non-running friends and family involved. Um,
yeah. No, I'm not sure why it hasn't taken off there because, as well, like I said, there's so many people that enjoy running over there. And then there are some that have started and then they've actually stopped running. So, like, there used to be one in San Francisco and that had to stop running. So, I
hmm.
think that one was an issue to do with the landowner. So that's the thing. You do need to have a venue where you've got, the whoever owns that piece of land is happy for you to do the run there every week. So there have been issues around the world of park runs that have started and have had to stop because other people weren't happy with all these runners being in their space on a Saturday morning every week. So I think one of the issues is having a good venue and having a good relationship with whoever owns that land. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really know why it hasn't taken off as much, especially there's a lot of the big cities that don't have any. And there must be a lot of areas where they could do them in like various parks, like trail paths and things like that. So yeah, I'm not really sure why it's not taken off.
Well, probably they're going to be latecomers to the party, and then when they get
Yeah,
the then when they get the sort of flavor of it, they'll probably outstrip everybody in the whole world. That's what
yeah,
I would imagine the US doing.
yeah.
Um, having said that about the US, on the other hand, I noticed Poland seems to have quite a large number, like almost 100 park runs.
And they're tiny.
Population-wise, they're really small. How come Poland's thriving?
I think again, it's just something there that people have enjoyed, and so they've been like, "Oh, well, this is a good place to have a park run. Let's have one here." So I think that's what you need, is that enthusiasm for it, and then someone who's like, "Well, I'm going to set up a park run here," because that's what we find in the UK. There's a lot of places where there isn't just one park run. There's quite a few within a small radius, or within about 5 miles of where I am, and within about 5 miles, about 10 different park runs. I think a lot of it is people who do it, enjoy it, and then think, oh, this would be a good venue for a park run. So then they go out and set it up. So it's probably the same in other countries like that, where just people are enthusiastic about it and want to set up their own.
Also, there was a country, you said 22 countries have park runs. There was a country in your book, Eswatini, which has
Oh,
two
yeah.
park runs. I've never even heard of Eswatini. I
Yeah, in
confess,
Africa, yeah.
sorry for my ignorance.
Yes, I hadn't heard of that country either.
Yeah, and they're both on golf courses. So again, that's, I think someone had the idea to do it on a golf course, and then that obviously prompted the idea to do it on a different golf course. But yeah, and like I said, that's the beauty of it as well. Like, even though it's called park run, they don't have to be in parks. So you have a lot that are in forest. There's one on a volcano. You could have it going along a beach. There's quite a lot on beaches. You can have it on coastal paths and things like that. There's quite a lot on seafronts, like promenades and things like that. So that's the beauty of it as well, that it doesn't have to be in a park. If you can find a suitable venue that's safe to run, you can do it anywhere, really.
And one of the things in the book is it's just filled with all these color photos of all these different park runs. How did you collect all of those?
Some of those were from just contacting those parkrun venues and asking them to send some photos over. Others are just sort of stock pictures of the parks that were found online. But the majority are actually from the actual parkruns themselves, who sent pictures over of their venues. And yeah, there are some beautiful ones, yeah.
Oh, just so we don't lose all the listeners because they've gone off to Google to try and find out where Eswatini is. It's the new name for Swaziland, I think. It's a small landlocked country in the north of South Africa, just north of Lesotho.
Yeah, because the parkrun is huge in South Africa now. 'Cause like I say, the founder was from there, so he took it over there after it did well in the UK. And yeah, it's massive over there now as well.
I wanted to talk about some of the challenges that people have sort of made up over the years, but let's first talk about, so these runs are timed, and there used to be a whole bunch of stats on the website. So the normal stats like we're used to seeing at a race, so things like the fastest person, the record at this particular part run, who held it, and then I think there was some age
Yeah.
graded results and records and things. And it seems like they were taken down by Parkrun because Parkrun doesn't want to, I think, give the air of being like too competitive. They want it to be for everyone. But do you think that by taking those down, that now some of the people that really enjoy Parkrun for those reasons will be maybe less motivated to continue?
I think that was the worry at first, but I have to say a lot of the people I know that were a little bit annoyed about all those stats being taken down have all carried on park running. So even though they might have lost that element, they're still doing it. But yeah, they said they did it because they felt it was off-putting to people that didn't think they were runners and didn't think it was for them if they couldn't run a certain time. So they wanted to make it clear that it's not about what time you finish in, because the time doesn't matter. It's just about taking part. And then they felt that because it used to be as soon as you went onto a parkrun site, it would say at the bottom of the page that like the fastest time ever on that course, which would always be super quick. So I think if you were coming on for the first time and then you saw that time at the bottom of the page, you might have thought, oh, blimey, I couldn't get anywhere near that time. So it might then put you off taking part. So that's why they've taken that down now. And what you see instead is the average finishing time, which for most is over half an hour. So that just shows that you don't have to be quick to take part, and you can walk the whole thing if you want to. And then you can still see some of the stats. So they still have what they call like an event history. So if you click onto that and then rejig the order, so it automatically shows you the order in terms of that week. But if you click on change the date and click to see the fastest ever, it then rejigs it so you can actually still see who's run the fastest time ever on that page. They're just not advertising it as much on the main home page. So if you can still see those stats if you want to, but they used to have like a list of like the fastest 500 ever, things like that. So those have been lost. And yeah, they used to have age category records as well. And that is one thing I think is a shame to have lost, because I think as people get older, that was quite motivating to try and get those records. But again, I guess they were thinking it might put off other people. But at the same time, yeah, I think it would have been nice to have kept the age category ones.
Or maybe on a different page, they could have maybe kept it not as the first thing you see, but um, you know, a click away or something where they
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. Yeah.
I think it's a deliberate effort not to be elitist and try to spread the participation and encourage the participation from as many people as possible because everybody can do it.
Yeah,
And they want
exactly.
everybody to do it. The thing
Yeah.
that the thing that kind of interests me, because I'm getting on in my age now, is the percentage age adjusted. I found since doing parkrun, I've started to get interested in that.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that. Because my number's kind of quite up there. Not that I'm particularly really fast. I'm just quite fast for my age. So
Yeah. So they still publish that. So that's something you can still be motivated by and go for. Yeah.
that was entirely generated by Parkrun because I didn't really know about these sort of age percentages. I think they give you a percentage where 100% would be the world record for your age group.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So the higher your percentage, sort of the better you're running for your age.
mm,
And yeah, and it's a way to sort of compare yourself to others as well, in that, someone might be 20 years old, but their age grading is lower than yours as an older athlete. So it's kind of leveling the playing field to show that
mhm.
you are running as well as a 20-year-old relative to the age you are now.
Yeah, I almost got to 90% and it says 90% is world class.
Oh, yeah, that's
And I,
amazing.
I
Yeah.
think I
oh,
was at, I think I was at 89 once. And I was thinking,
Mm.
oh, get to 90. Parkrun tells me I'm world class. I've never actually been
Yes,
able to
yeah.
pull that off.
Yeah, no,
So
I've not got that high yet. I think my highest is in the 80s.
I have a question about the app because there is a Parkrun app, but in the book you talk about another app. Why would people want to have both of these apps? Because the Parkrun app is the official one, and I think you have to have that one. Is that
Yeah, so you
right?
have to have that one to register and, like I say, to get your barcode. And that one sort of tells you where the different venues are. And that gives you your like personal stats of like your fastest ever run, how many you've run, that kind of thing. And then there's another app which is unofficial, so that's not officially run by Parkrun, but is really popular. It's just called 5K, and that one you scan your barcode in, and then it just uploads all the different challenges that you might want to do, and it shows based on your results so far how many you've achieved. So I actually did my barcode when I was writing the book because I didn't have the app before then. And then I was surprised to see I'd completed some of the challenges, which I hadn't
Oh,
even known
wow.
that I'd done, because it does it all
mm,
automatically for you. And then, so I think, yeah, if you're someone that wants to do the challenges, that's a really good app to, one, keep track of how you're doing, and two, just get inspiration because people add new challenges. Whereas, yeah, that's something that the official parkrun organization don't encourage. They've just, their only official challenge is those milestones, like collecting the milestones, and the other stuff's all sort of grown around it.
the nice thing about the app as well is you can make a friends list and you can
Yeah,
see how your friends are tracking. I've got friends all kind of all over the world, so it's quite cool when they run in Australia or in UK or in Canada to see them all popping up every weekend and see how they're
yeah,
tracking with their
yeah.
efforts.
Yeah, and you can also do that for your running club. So you can just put in like your running club name, and then each week it shows you all the members of your running club where they've done a part run all around the world that day. So if you want to see how your club mates are doing, you can do that as well.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is neat. So these challenges, so there's some challenges that you list in the book, and I guess we won't go through all of them because some of them are pretty obscure, but some of the ones that are like a little more straightforward are like running a park run for every letter of the alphabet, I think.
Yeah, so that's the most
Um,
popular one. Yeah,
yeah.
because there are so many different venues now. That the idea is, yeah, you run with the venue, for instance, the one in my mum and dad is Colic, so that starts with a C. So that means I've got the C from the alphabet. And then if you want to complete the whole alphabet, you've got to go to different ones that start with that letter.
Oh,
So the
okay.
challenge is, one, being able to travel to all those different venues, and two, how far you're willing to travel. Because like there isn't one that starts with Z in the UK. So if you do want to complete the whole list, you've got to go across to like Europe or South Africa to get one of those. So yeah, you do have to go to a different country to complete the whole thing officially. There isn't actually an X anywhere, but some people just pick a name that's got an X in it somewhere so they can tick the X off.
So
Uh,
if you were starting a new park run and you wanted it to be popular, you should start one that begins with an X or a Z.
yeah. So there's a whole bunch of obscure challenges, but are there any that you didn't include in the book that you've heard about since writing the book or didn't
Not
include in the
so
book for another
far.
reason? No.
Yeah, no, there probably are a lot that I haven't included in the book, and like I say, people just come up with new ones all the time. But yeah, there's probably a lot that I haven't put in. But the ones I have covered are ones that you can try and do if you are able to travel, like the A to Z, or if you can only ever go to your local park run, you can do ones as well. So there's one which is like a stopwatch bingo. So the idea is you get a finishing time in every second of a minute. So that means you
Oh,
can go to the
yeah.
same venue each week and just try and get a different time, and so you can collect the whole sort of
Okay.
minute. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
also do that by position as well, but that one works to get like 1 to 99. You don't have to come first in the part run. You could come like 101st, and then that still counts as a one. So again, that's achievable for people to try and do whatever their pace is.
Do people try and adjust themselves, like suddenly slow down at the end so they can get to a
Yeah, see someone
specific
like
number?
lurking around the finish line. That's probably what they're doing, trying to get a certain time on their watch.
Or letting a couple of people pass them so they come
Yeah.
33rd instead of 31st or something.
Yes, yeah. And
Because
the
they've
one I
already.
didn't realise that I'd got is called Groundhog Day. So that is doing exactly the same time at the same venue a week apart. So yeah,
Oh,
you have to be
wow.
quite consistent to get that one, which I didn't realise I'd managed to do until I downloaded this app and saw that I'd done it.
Yeah, Snap. I just downloaded the app about a month ago, and I noticed I have that Groundhog Day just by pure
Yeah,
chance.
yeah.
Wow.
If you had to try and organize yourself to get it, it would be probably impossible.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't do it, yeah.
Are there any of those challenges that might end up becoming like official challenges with Parkrun or they
Yeah, I'm
don't?
not sure because I think the A to Z is definitely the biggest one, but they don't officially want to encourage it because just because they want to encourage people more to go to their local park run just for like the impact on the environment and that kind of thing. So I think officially they don't want to back it too much because they don't want to encourage people to be, traveling and stuff. And also, like I say, because they want it to be accessible to everyone, not everybody has the means to be able to travel, especially like I say, if it involves having to go abroad to get certain letters. So yeah, officially they haven't really embraced any of them other than the milestones so far.
It's interesting the UK is as part of the park run revolution. It's gone through a complete transformation since I used to live there. It's quite interesting for me to sort of see it now when I go visiting with respect to, running and participating in running since parkrun has become so popular. I think there are more than 800 parkruns in the UK.
Yeah.
So there's more than 800 free 5K events that are probably attended by more than 100 people each on average, I would guess. I
Yeah, and
don't
then
know
like I
if,
say, you've got the junior ones on a Sunday as well. There's quite a lot of those
yeah,
around the country.
because I used to run, it would be the 80s when I would run in the 1980s when I would run as a student. And, doing fun runs and things was a sort of sport where you talk about it with your friends who weren't runners and they'd go, oh, you're talking about that again and kind of switch off. But now a lot of the people who I know who live in the UK who didn't used to do any kind of running, weren't interested in running, are now going on and on and on about their park
Yeah, yeah,
runs.
yeah. I had that as well.
I
Yeah,
got a PB at parkrun
yeah,
3 months ago. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to that again. I'll have to do some training, or maybe if the weather's good. Do you know, my wife, she started as well, and she's got this kind of performance. It's incredible. She never used to be an athlete, and now it's sort of in the general vocabulary.
yeah. Definitely. I
Everybody's
think for a lot of
everybody
people, yeah,
talks
it's
about
like the
it.
gateway into running now that they
Yeah.
start with a park run and then it gives them that running bug to go on and do it. Because I've been doing it since I was young, and what I found funny is my dad runs and my sister runs as well. So she was actually an elite athlete. So we used to go out running on Christmas Day, and everyone used to think we were mad and like, why are
Mm.
you running on Christmas Day? You should be like sat at home, like having your Christmas
Doing
dinner.
nothing. Yeah, having some, yeah, hot chocolate or something.
Yeah, Christmas Day is like a massive park run event, and loads of people will go out on Christmas Day to do their local park run. So yeah, so that's really shows how much it's changed. And I think a lot of people in the UK got into it over COVID as well. It's when we had the lockdowns, and it was a way to get out and be able to exercise. So I think that's
Yes.
seen a lot of the growth in running since
Mm.
then, that people have realized that, you know, you can just go out and do it, and rather than paying like gym membership and that kind of stuff, or having to join a running club, you can just go out and do it by yourself. And then, you know, you don't have to be a member of a running club to join Parkrun either. You can just turn up.
It seems also that some people like want to do parkrun and they start like a couch to 5K program in order to be able to run parkrun. So it's like so much in the general dialogue of everybody that even people that like would have never run for any other reason now are like, oh, I want to train to do this parkrun, even though like it's not supposed to be competitive. You don't have to be fast. And actually, you don't even have to run. So,
Mm.
so it's interesting that they go through the trouble of training for this park run to be able to
Yeah,
do
and I
it.
think, yeah, a lot of people I spoke to in the book who love parkrun say, "Oh, I'm not a runner, but I love doing parkrun." So even though they do go along and they might run or they
Mm.
might walk, they still don't consider themselves runners. They just consider themselves park runners. So one lady I spoke to, just she goes to Saturday park run and she runs there, and that's the only run she does all week. So she's not interested in going out and doing any other runs. She just wants to do park run. The
Wow.
same for other people like that. And a lot of it, I think, is that social element of just going along and running with other people, or meeting your friends there and going for a coffee afterwards. So I think that's, again, another big reason why it's so popular, is because it's got that social element of people coming together and or running or walking together or volunteering.
And in the UK, is it true that doctors, general practitioners will actually prescribe park runs for people?
Yeah, yeah. So you can sign up to a scheme that Parkrun started, where they encourage doctors, yeah, to say go along to the local park run, and the staff are encouraged to go along as well. So yeah, so that's become a big thing, just to try and encourage people to go along for like mental health and physical health benefits, and that's volunteering as well. Yeah, because there's a lot of research that's shown that volunteering is really good for your physical and mental health as well.
So not only do you get sort of some physical benefit by being outside and moving around, but it's generally sort of accepted, or is it sort of proven, or have there been surveys or something about?
Yeah, no, it's been proven. They've done, yeah, they've done studies on it. One, just being out in nature is meant to make you feel better. Being outside, just surrounded, you know, like by, you know, like there's so many beautiful venues. So just going to like the seaside to be part of a park run, or going to an amazing forest, something like that is makes you feel better mentally. Then obviously joining up with other people, that helps relieve like depression and loneliness and something like that, just being out with other people. So that's all aside from the actual physical benefits you gain if you walk or run. You get those mental health benefits just from turning up and being outside and being around other people. And then Parkrun have done their own surveys as well, where they've said to their volunteers, like, do you feel happier having done this? Do you feel like this benefits your mental health? And yeah, the majority all said it did.
So after hearing all of that, let's say somebody wants to set up a park run in their neighborhood. How hard is it and how long does it take?
I think it depends on sort of where you are and how many people you've got to support you. So yeah, I do have a chapter in the book that goes on into all that. So the first step is to sort of contact the parkrun organisation and say, this is where I'd like to have one, and then they will give you support to set it up. But the main things you need is like a team of volunteers to set up to begin with, because you can't. A lot of people say you can't just do it on your own. You need to have that group of people, because it is going to be happening every single week.
Hmm.
So it needs to have more than one person to make it sustainable. The other thing is, like I said, a good venue where you could run 5K, and where it's not going to be too congested, and where you're not going to be impacting, one, the environment, and two, the local people that normally use that area, whether that's, you know, for dog walking or other sports and that kind of thing. So it needs to be a venue that's safe for people to run on, but also not encroaching too much on the environment or other people. And then you need the permission of whoever owns that land to be able to do it. So that is the big factor, really, is getting that permission to be allowed to do the park run there every week. And that's where some park runs have fallen down, where they've got going and then a landowner's changed their mind and they've had to stop, especially when they've got really popular. So some have had issues with, like, if
Hmm.
people drive there and park their cars, there's just not enough parking. So there's quite a few things you have to think through.
Also, you might think, oh, okay, these fringe people, they're going to have 20, 30 people running around. It's no big deal. And then they've had over 1,000 at some of these places in the
Yes, yeah,
UK.
exactly. Yeah. So having a suitable venue is a big thing. And then, like I say, having a team of volunteers willing to get off the ground and keep it going every week is the other big factor.
How many volunteers would you need?
Well, there's so many compulsory roles, but I know in the UK a lot of those compulsory roles are filled. But around the country, around the world, when there are smaller park runs, sometimes they don't. They have sort of multiple people doing multiple roles. But yeah, you definitely need the run director, who's the person in overall charge. You always need the tail runner, who's the person that walks at the back. So you probably need at least I don't know exactly, but probably about 5 to 10 to keep it going every week. But over here, sometimes you might get 30 to 50 volunteers at some
Oh,
venues.
wow. Yeah.
And like they don't like to turn volunteers away, so you can never have too many volunteers because they'll always, get someone to marshal somewhere or something like that.
Actually, you did mention one venue in your book, and I can't remember which one it was, but there was one where there are more volunteers than runners usually.
Yeah. I think that was one of the ones in Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think it
again,
was in
that just shows how
Africa.
popular the volunteering is, that some people
Mhm.
just want to go along and volunteer and
They just
meet
want to be
people and
part of it.
yeah, exactly. And I think in some ways the volunteering is more sociable because you're actually, if you're marshalling with someone else, you get to stand and chat to them the whole time, as opposed to if you're running, you might not chat to anyone until you're finished. So
Hmm.
marshalling or doing another role like tail walking, where you're walking around with somebody else, you're actually getting to socialize a lot more.
So you've got all these volunteers and you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, or well, thousands of park runs around the world, and it's always free forever. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So don't you have an administrative burden because there's a global organization working to keep this going? Write software
Yeah.
for it or
Yeah,
have
so they do have
websites?
initially, yeah, it started out where no one got paid, and then as it grew, they realized that wasn't sustainable, and that's when it became a company. And now they do have a core team of paid staff in the UK and at other places around the world. So that's how it keeps going now. It has become a limited company and it's also become a charity. So that's how a lot of the money now comes from. They get things like sports grants and the merchandising as well. So when you buy your t-shirt, say you've done 50 part runs, that goes back into keeping part
Okay.
run going. Yeah, so it is free to take part, but you can choose to donate to the charity or you can buy the merchandise and then you're giving back that way.
Yeah, I remember I bought a credit card type thing that has my barcode on it. So I
Yeah.
can put it easily in my pocket and
Yeah, so they've got a few different things like that, like wristbands
mm.
you can get with your barcode on and things like that. Yeah.
And I've noticed you can put it on your watch now, so you can put it on your GPS watch.
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah,
no
that's what I
excuse not
did.
to get your barcode anymore.
it's getting smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what are some of the amazing places that parkrun has like happens in? Are there any parkruns where you particularly have sort of looked at it and went, wow, that's pretty neat?
Yeah, so I've got a bucket list in the book. I can take you through some of those now, and yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of those I was like, oh wow, that
While
sounds
while you
amazing.
while you while you're looking that up in the book, they also have some parkruns inside prisons.
Yes, yeah, they do. They're not open to the public, but yeah, they do have them in prisons. There's one on the Falklands Islands as well that's just open to military personnel. But yeah, they found it's been really good in prisons just to get the exercise. But yeah, so that was something that happened not long after Parkrun started, and that's been really successful. Yeah, so in the bucket list, we've got one on Hamilton Island in Australia. So that's like a paradise island, and it's just off the Great Barrier Reef. So you
Yeah.
could run. Part of that is on the beach, so you can sort of run on the beach and then go diving later if you want. Another one which I think looks amazing is in Italy, which is it's called, I'll probably pronounce it wrong, but Walls of Lucca Park Run. And that's an ancient city, and then the wall goes around the city, and you actually run on the wall all around the city,
Oh,
which
wow.
is quite
That
an
sounds
amazing
amazing.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I've in the bucket list, I've covered ones in sort of South Africa and New Zealand, where like really picturesque lakes,
Hmm.
coastal ones. One in Japan, which is in like a really lovely park, and there's like a traditional tea room in the park as well.
And there's cherry
Um,
blossoms blossoming at a
yes,
certain time of
yeah,
the year.
exactly. So,
The
yeah,
the
and then
photos are amazing.
yeah, and this one I think sounds amazing as well, which is in Finland, and it's the furthest north in the world. So often it has snow, and often because it's so
Sounds
far
cold.
north, yeah, it starts in the dark as well. So you're running on snow in the dark. So that's quite an interesting one to do. And then I've got one in Poland as well. And that's on a World Heritage site. So again, there's quite a lot on World Heritage sites and quite a lot on sites of like scientific interest. So if you're like a history buff or a geography buff, then there's quite a lot of venues you could go to and see some amazing things.
Are there
And ha-
are there any mountainous ones?
Yeah. In America, there's one in Colorado. There's one there. It's not a mountain, but in the UK, we've got one in the Lake District that sort of not far off a mountain that goes up a hill. There's one on Mountain Etna that doesn't actually go right up the volcano. It's just kind of at the base of it. But yeah, you can say you run on a volcano at that one.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I should probably give a shout out to my the park run that I've done the most, which is actually in Australia in a place called Fingal Bay, just in case any of the guys, when I get out there later on this year, listen to this podcast. Shout out to Fingal Bay Park Run. It actually is a bike path that goes along the beachfront. So you can go up and down the beachfront and then you can go into the ocean afterwards.
Wow.
It's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as beautiful as Hamilton Island, but it's pretty up there.
Yeah, and I've not been to Canada, but I think some of the venues there are absolutely beautiful as well. So there's some in sort of trail paths, some on the coast, some around lakes. So yeah, if you want a really picturesque one, it's worth investigating what ones are in Canada as well.
Yeah, we do have the one that we have in Montreal is actually in a really nice spot. It used to be an old quarry, I think, and now it's a park. It's called Frederick Back Park. But the beauty of it is that like sort of like the hole was just not all filled up. But now there's stuff growing in there. But we run around it.
The perimeter of the
The
park.
per yeah,
Yeah.
and the perimeter of the park it's like a gravel bike path, so it's quite wide. There's a little bit of like up and down, but it's pretty flat, so you could run a pretty fast park run there. And there's no traffic to worry about or anything. There's the traffic using the path, but there's not like cars. So yeah, and there's no like out and back. You go not quite all the way around because I think all the way around would be 6K. So they like start it and end it at like a slightly different locations. But I don't know. I think that's a fantastic place for park run. Nobody else has set one up.
My wife goes to that quite a lot. So parkrun seems to be still growing and thriving. The numbers of countries are gradually increasing. The numbers of runs in the countries are gradually increasing. The numbers of participants seem to be increasing. What does the future look like?
Yeah, well, I did speak to the CEO about that, and they said, yeah, they've got plans to keep expanding. There's quite a few countries where they think Parkrun would do well, but it's not there at the minute. So Spain, for instance, so they'd like to expand there. Different parts of Africa they'd like to expand into. So there's a lot of countries there with big running populations, but still no park runs yet. So Africa's a big place they'd like to expand into further. And yeah, different places in Europe. So yeah, their plan is to have more venues, but also more participants. So, and that's why they are encouraging people so much to take part, like whatever your ability, because, you know, they want to encourage people to do it, even if they're not runners already, to come along and try it. And like I say, if you don't want to run, come along and walk. And if you don't want to walk, come along and volunteer. So that's why they just want to encourage more and more people. So it just keeps growing.
Don't think I saw any park runs in South America.
No, so it's not there yet either. So again, that's another big place where it could expand.
So what would you say to people that have maybe never done park run and are kind of nervous?
I would say maybe if you're really nervous, you could perhaps go along and watch it first before you join in. So sort of go along to the venue, see what's happening, and then you'll see that there's so many different people taking part. You'll see it's not intimidating, it's not all fast people. So I think a lot of people find that reassuring when they see the different people taking part, like people with their buggies, people with their dogs, people with their children, people of all shapes and sizes. So yeah, I'd say if you're really nervous, go along and watch to begin with. And then, yeah, just don't worry about your level of fitness either, because it is for everyone. So again, I know you mentioned the Couch to 5K, and a lot of people wait until they've finished that plan to go along and do it. But I say in the book, you don't need to wait, because the Couch to 5K is all about run walking. So you can just go along and run walk for any of the runs on that plan. So yeah, you don't have to wait until you can run 5K to take part. You can take part before that. And yeah, the idea is it's really friendly, really welcoming. So I think if you're feeling worried, then don't, because it's a really friendly space to go along to.
Well said.
I would echo that as well.
And the thing I've found, people, so I've got a chapter on parkrun around the world, and a big part of it is people, they call parkrun tourists, where they do go to different venues. So they might go there on holiday or might go there for a certain venue. And they all say wherever they've been around the world, it's that same atmosphere of friendliness and being welcomed. So I think whichever parkrun you go to, you should get that atmosphere, because that's what they are designed to do.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think if people have a little bit of interest, or have sort of heard this and have thought, oh, that sounds interesting, but they're not sure whether they would want to do it, they should just get themselves a copy of this book and have a look at it. Because I think reading the book gives you a bit of a flavor for it, in terms of, you don't have to be a Superman to do that. You don't have to be a runner per se to do that. You can go and walk, you can go and just watch, you can go and volunteer, you can get involved, and then that's sort of becomes your gateway drug to a large extent.
And again, I haven't mentioned this yet, but there's also a chapter on runners with disabilities. So that's a big part of it as well, is welcoming people. So if you're blind, you can have a guide runner run round with you. And if you're deaf, you can take part, and then they might sign the briefing at the start. And there's some venues where you can take part in a wheelchair, or you can take like a walking frame or something like that. So the idea is it's for all abilities as well. So they've also have a big chapter in the book about people that are doing it when they've had a cancer diagnosis. So even though they're battling cancer, they're still joining in the local parkrun and gaining the health benefits from doing that. So it's very much, you don't have to be super fit to run. It's just about joining in and taking part.
And that's one of the things that that's highlighted in the book, is all of these little personal stories, because we didn't really touch on those, because I mean, that's just, people will have to read those. But throughout all the chapters, there are like little stories of people, why they did their first park run, how they discovered park run, how they felt the first time, how they were nervous, but then once they did it, they found out that they weren't nervous. That's one reason to get the book if you're interested in parkrun, but not quite sure if you want to do it. Then all those little stories might convince you.
Yeah, definitely. And like, there's so many different people who contribute their stories. So like I say, some that would say they're not runners at all, some with various disabilities or different stages in their lives, whether that's, they've just become a parent, or they're older and they've taken up running at that stage in life. So yeah, it does really show that anyone can join in.
Well, also one of the things we've seen with respect to running is, with running clubs, people are pretty reluctant to get involved to begin with, because they're not sure what the level is, etc., etc. And in fact, we get people who are in our club, our running club, who say, well, I'm not a real runner. I come to the club. And then there's sort of a barrier, almost a mental barrier to participation. And I think this is a fantastic stepping stone, or even just an easier accessible exercise environment to get into. You don't have to be a runner, but you can be a park runner.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
you kind of touched on it earlier, that some people don't do anything else because they feel they can be a park runner, whereas they're not really runners.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as well, that's, some people are intimidated to join a running club because they think that's, more serious athletes, where a lot of them in the UK aren't like that. There are, but still people think they are. So that's another way, if they actually go down to their park run, and then they might meet other people from those running clubs and then go on to join the running club. So you find that the running clubs actually benefit from people going to park run as well.
So where can people get copies of the book?
So Amazon is the main place. Yeah, they can buy it. So yeah, it's on Amazon at the minute, and obviously Christmas coming up. I think make quite a good gift if anyone wants some Christmas reading.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
You haven't got that last minute present? There you go. Just giving it to you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and it's got training plans in there as well. So because I'm a running coach as well, so there's a sub 30 minutes, sub 25 minutes, and sub 20-minute training plans.
Hmm.
So if you want to try and run a quicker time, you can have a go at following those training plans as well.
Yeah. And there's no Couch to 5K program because in the UK you can get that from the government.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't put that in there because I thought it's easier just to download the app for people to follow it that way. And
Yeah.
then, like I say, you can still join in before you've done the 5K. And then the idea of the training plans is they're kind of the next step. So once you've completed the Couch to 5K, you can then have a training plan to move on to if you do want to try and get faster.
That's great. And where can people follow you to see what you're up to?
So I'm on Instagram at Running Feet Lucy, and that's feet FEAT rather than double ET.
Okay.
And yeah, it's mostly just me posting about my training. But yeah, and I do coaching, so bits of that on there, and obviously lots of book spam at the minute as well.
Yeah, and we can stalk you to find out whether you make the 3 hour marathon
Oh yes,
of
yeah,
London next year. We've just
yes,
added
yeah.
you.
Fingers
We just
crossed.
added you to the whole of the world. No
Yeah, great.
pressure.
And yeah, yeah, I'll follow you back. It'd be great to see how you guys get on in your races as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And you never know. London's not a very big event, so we'll probably bump into each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not very big at all.
yeah.
Got like wave starts that don't start in the
And,
same street because it's so big.
yeah, but I mean that's another way it shows how running's just boomed because they had
Yeah.
like record numbers enter the ballot this year, and it's really hard to get a place in the ballot now. So yeah, it just shows how popular running's getting.
If you think it's difficult for you, try living overseas.
Yeah, yeah, I bet.
I think Alan's been in the lottery how many years? Like 7 years in a row, and he
Yeah.
got refused.
Oh,
Yeah, I've gone
yeah, I know.
I've gone for a charity route.
Yeah, even getting a charity place is hard as well.
It
Lots of
is
charities
actually.
have
I got
waiting
knocked
lists
back
now
by
as
the
well.
first 6 or 7 charities.
Yeah, yeah. So just getting a place now is an accomplishment.
For sure.
So thanks very much for your time, Lucy. It's been really great to have you on to tell us all a bit more about Parkrun.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and hopefully people enjoy reading it and go and try Parkrun as well.
Get out there and do it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So should we give our views?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this book is everything you want to know about Parkrun, but we're afraid to ask. I mean, you could have even called it that in the title. The information's comprehensive, but pretty readable, with lots of anecdotes and stories, like you touched on, Liz. We haven't really covered that. That's really more good content if you get the book and read it for yourself. I read the book on my iPad, the electronic sort of version on my iPad, and the color photos in the book, particularly because they were on the iPad, so they were sort of really well lit, were quite magnificent. I would say the book is a brilliant advert for a brilliant concept, which is parkrun, a fantastic idea. And every time I do a parkrun, or when I read about them, like in this book, I want to go out and start a parkrun of my own in my own area. I don't know how you feel about that, but it would be good to get more people out reading these books and maybe thinking about starting a parkrun in their areas as well and get them springing up all around the place.
Yeah, I have to say that when I did that first park run, that was well the only one that's available in Montreal, but is a little far, so I wouldn't go every week. And like it made me kind of think like, oh, it'd be cool if we had one, down the street or something. But then the issue is always like when we're doing marathon training, like if I'm the one trying to run this park run, like my long run's usually on Saturday too. So now what? Anyway,
You need a team of volunteers so you can sneak off.
that's why you need a team of volunteers so that you don't have to be responsible every weekend. But back to the book. I would say that this is the Boston Marathon Handbook, but for parkrun. So it kind of reminded me a lot of that because it had the history of it, some stories to support why people love it so much, and details for people who are looking for a challenge or want to start a parkrun in their neighborhood. So it's kind of like, it was sort of like it was a bit of an all-encompassing kind of manual to parkrun, I would say. Impressive collection of facts and stats about parkrun and also about how it positively impacts health for its participants, both mental and physical health. So we kind of touched on it in the podcast, but in the book, there are a lot of stats from different places about, the effect of exercise on mental and physical health and then how parkrun fits into that. So That was quite impressive to read. Nicely put together with lots of photos, park runs around the world, so you can just sort of look at the photos and wish you were running on the beach. What's fun is the wide variety of stories about the different ways people started running or started volunteering at a park run, how they discovered park runs. So all those stories were a lot of fun. So overall, I guess I would recommend it to anyone that's like kind of curious, or maybe you do park run, but you want to know a little more. So maybe you're interested in some of these challenges and you don't know about them yet, or maybe you want to set up a park run. There's actually a great chapter, sort of a day in the life of parkrun, which like we had mentioned at the beginning, but we didn't really talk about. But it really tells you like step by step, like what happens during the day on the day of the parkrun. That's the audience I'd sort of recommend it for. Some inspiration.
What I would say as well is if you're a person who's looking to get a little bit more exercise and you want to get into it gradually, it's a great way of getting into exercise a little bit. Or if you are missing a little bit of social contact and you'd like to just have an opportunity to meet different people and just chat in a positive environment, it provides that as well. All in all, good stuff. Time for outro.
Your turn.
I guess it is. Thank you for listening to another episode of Running Book Reviews. Big thank you to the publisher Canberry for providing review copies of the book today. And a big thank you to Lucy Waterlow for spending time with us and also staying up late because she's in the UK to talk to us. If you'd like to leave us feedback about how we can improve the podcast, or you want to suggest a book you'd like us to review, please leave us a comment on social media. We are Running Book Reviews on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter we are reviews_running. Please also follow us on social media to find out about new episodes when they are released, or you can just subscribe to the podcast on your favorite streaming platform. If you've been listening to us for a while, or even if you've just started listening to us and you're wondering how you can help us out, there are a few ways. The best one is to spread the word about the podcast, tell people about it, share a link. If you're listening to this now and you'd like to help us, stop now and share the link for this podcast or an episode of Running Book Reviews to one of your friends. You can also leave us a review. We're also on a platform called Buy Me a Coffee. Go to Buy Me a Coffee, look for creators, Running Book Reviews, and you can see various bits and bobs, photographs, outtakes, discussions that we've left on there. That's all for today from Running Book Reviews. Bye for now.
Bye.